The year was 2862, and humanity had spread across more than 100 star systems. From the blue skies of old Earth to the silver deserts of Epsilon Prime, human cities shone brightly under alien suns. For the first time in history, humanity was part of something larger, the Galactic Union, a vast alliance of hundreds of intelligent species. The Union was proud of its peace. For almost 3 centuries, no large war had occurred. Trade ships flew freely, scientists shared discoveries, and new colonies bloomed every decade. Humanity had found friends, rivals, and teachers among the stars. Yet, even in this grand age, some humans still whispered, "Peace never lasts forever." On a quiet evening aboard the Terran science station Athena, that whisper began to turn into truth. Dr. Lena Mora, a communications specialist, stared at her console. Streams of light ran across her screen. Data signals, wave patterns, and fragments of a strange transmission. It had arrived from beyond the known sectors, a place no one had explored yet. The signal repeated every 72 minutes, faint but steady. "Captain," she called softly, her voice filled with disbelief. "I think we've received a message." Captain Jonas Valek, an old spacefarer with a calm but sharp gaze, turned from the viewport. "From where?" he asked. "That's the thing," Lena replied, eyes wide. "From outside the Union border, far beyond the Vega line. The signal doesn't match any known communication code." Jonas approached her console. On the screen, a strange pattern of pulses danced like heartbeat rhythms. It wasn't random, it had meaning. But not in any alien language the Union had catalogued. Lena frowned. "It almost looks like old Earth binary," Jonas blinked. "Binary, as in computer code?" She nodded. "But modified, layered with extra frequency bands. It's like someone tried to make sure only humans could understand it. They ran it through the translation system. The result appeared in white letters. To the children of Sol, the Xylar awaken. Prepare yourselves. Do not trust the silence." Lena's hands trembled. "Who are the Xylar?" Jonas looked thoughtful. "Never heard that name before." He ordered the AI to cross-check all Union archives, but the result was empty. Not a single record, not even a myth. It was as if the name had been erased from history. Within an hour, the message spread to Earth and every major human colony. The Terran Council, which represented humanity within the Galactic Union, held an emergency session. Across the oceanic capital city of New Geneva, news drones buzzed through the air. Reporters shouted questions, analysts guessed meanings, and ordinary citizens gathered around public screens. President Ari Solon, known for her calm leadership, addressed the crowd. "We have received a warning from deep space," she announced. "It mentions a name unknown to us, the Xylar. We are taking this seriously. Humanity will investigate, and we urge our Union allies to do the same." But the response from the Galactic Council was far from supportive. In the grand chamber of the Council, where thousands of delegates floated or sat in shimmering holographic seats, the Union leaders listened to humanity's report. When the message was replayed, soft laughter rippled through the hall. The Valari Chancellor, a tall crystalline being whose body glowed blue, spoke first. "Another human ghost story," he said smoothly. "Your species has always been dramatic." A reptilian delegate from the Torvath Empire added with a hiss, "Always expecting war. Always afraid of the dark." Even the chair of the council, a gentle avian being named Kurov, looked uneasy. "There is no record of any species called the Xylar. We must not cause panic over an old binary code." President Ari kept her tone polite but firm. "With respect, the message was meant for humans. It used our ancient code. Someone, or something, wanted to warn us specifically." Kurov fluffed his wings nervously. "Perhaps it is a remnant signal. A trick of cosmic radiation. We have seen such anomalies before." "An anomaly that forms words?" Ari asked quietly. The chamber fell silent for a moment, but then another round of murmurs began. In the end, the council voted not to take action. As Ari left the hall, she turned to her aide. "They won't listen," she said softly. "So we'll prepare alone." Weeks passed. Humanity's fleets began discreet upgrades. The Terran Defense Network ran silent training exercises. Space yards on Mars and Titan worked day and night, reinforcing old ships and building new ones. The message was studied in depth by human scientists. They discovered hidden data buried in its code, star maps, fragments of coordinates, and strange energy readings. The location pointed to a region beyond the Vega line, a dark area long avoided because of unstable space currents. A team of explorers volunteered to investigate. Their ship, the Odyssey, was equipped with the newest warp drives and shield systems. Captain Elias Rahn, known for his calm under pressure, led the mission. Before departure, Lena Mora handed him a small data crystal. "It contains every layer of the signal," she explained. "If you find anything, record it. We must know what the warning truly means." Elias smiled faintly. "We'll bring back answers." The Odyssey launched into the void. For weeks it traveled beyond the known star routes where starlight grew dim and silence deepened. The crew began to notice strange phenomena. Flickers on the radar, whispers of energy distortions, and a faint echo repeating in their communication lines. Then, one day they found it, a massive structure floating in the dark, cold, silent, and ancient. It was shaped like a ring miles across, carved with unknown symbols. The reading showed no life signs, but a strange pulse came from its core, matching the same rhythm as the original message. "Captain," said the pilot, eyes wide. "It's broadcasting again." Elias ordered a scan. The result shocked everyone. The structure wasn't just a ruin. It was alive in some strange way. Energy flowed through it like blood through veins. Suddenly, the ship's lights flickered. The communication system came alive, displaying a holographic form, a tall figure made of shifting light. It looked human, but not quite. The figure spoke in clear English. "You came," it said softly. "Good. The Xylar will return soon." Elias took a step forward. "Who are you?" "I was once human," the figure replied. "Long ago, when humanity first reached the stars. We found the Xylar then. We fought, and we lost. I was created to warn those who came after." Lena's voice crackled over the comms from Earth. "Captain, the signal strength just increased. The entire Union can hear it now." The hologram turned its gaze toward the stars. "They sleep beyond the edge, waiting for the right century to rise again. You must be ready. Do not trust the Council. Do not trust their peace." Before Elias could ask more, the structure began to shake. Energy surged outward, knocking the Odyssey back. The hologram faded, leaving only one final message on every human ship's screen. "They will test you again. The warning is clear. Prepare humanity." The Odyssey barely escaped before the structure collapsed into a silent cloud of dust and light. When they returned home, the Terran Council received them as heroes, but also with worry. Now the warning could not be denied. The Union finally knew of it too, and many began to whisper in fear. Still, the Galactic Council issued another statement. "There is no danger. There is no Xylar. The humans have misunderstood an ancient signal, but deep inside humanity knew better. Something was coming. Something that had once nearly ended them before their story even began. And this time, if the Xylar dared to rise again, humanity would be ready." Months had passed since the strange message echoed across the stars. Humanity had taken it seriously. Their fleets were on alert. Their scientists worked day and night, and their colonies quietly built defenses. But the rest of the Galactic Union did not share their concern. To most alien worlds, life continued as usual. Bright trade routes, peaceful councils, and endless talks about unity and trust. To them, humanity was simply being dramatic again. Yet far beyond the safe lanes of the Union, something was stirring. It began with a whisper. A small trade ship called Starwind vanished while crossing the outer rim near the Vega line. The Union patrol said it was likely a navigation failure, perhaps swallowed by a gravity storm. A week later, a second ship disappeared, then a third. At first, it seemed like bad luck. But when the fourth ship, a human vessel named Astra Dawn, sent out a broken distress signal before vanishing, the whispers turned to fear. The message had been short and filled with static. Only 2 words were clear before the signal cut off. "They're here." On Earth, President Ari Solon watched the recording again and again. Around her stood the members of the Terran Security Council, grim-faced and silent. "We warned them," she said softly. "We told them something was moving beyond Vega." Admiral Jonas Valek, the same captain who had first seen the warning years ago, nodded. "Our long-range sensors show strange energy signatures near the missing routes. It's not natural. And it's not any Union technology." Ari leaned forward. "Have we tried to reach the Council again?" "Yes," Jonas said with a sigh. "They're sending an investigation fleet, mostly diplomatic ships with light escorts. They still think it's pirates or space anomalies." Ari closed her eyes. "Then we must be ready for what they're not expecting." Meanwhile, far from the safety of the inner colonies on a small mining world called Helios 9, strange things began to happen. The miners there were simple people, humans and aliens working together in tunnels that ran deep beneath the planet's surface. For years, Helios 9 had been peaceful, but lately the nights had grown too quiet. Communication satellites often went dark, and once, an entire mining shift vanished without a trace. One night, Ryan Kess, the foreman, was checking the equipment when he saw a flicker of light in the sky, not from a ship, but something different. It moved like a shadow, bending the stars around it. He called the control tower. "Helios Command, this is Kess. I'm seeing something over the ridge. It's not on our radar." The reply came back filled with static. "Copy, Ryan, Then silence. The lights went out. Every screen, every comm line, every generator dead. Ryan's heart raced. He looked up again, and for a moment he saw it clearly. A massive shape, black and smooth like glass and floating silently above the horizon. No engines, no lights, no sound. Then it faded into the dark sky. The next morning, the Galactic Union lost all contact with Helios 9. By now, even the Union Council could not ignore the truth. Reports poured in from dozens of outer systems. Ships gone missing, colonies silent, strange energy bursts that melted sensors. The Torvath Empire, who had mocked humanity the loudest, lost an entire fleet near their border. When the survivors returned, their ships were scarred and burned. The captain spoke of invisible enemies, weapons that came from nowhere and vanished before they could respond. But when President Ari offered help, many still refused. "We can handle our own defenses," said the Valerie Chancellor proudly. "We do not need human panic spreading across the stars." Ari only replied, "This isn't panic. It's preparation." She turned to Admiral Jonas. "We're done waiting. Begin Operation Sentinel." Jonas saluted. "Yes, ma'am." Operation Sentinel was humanity's secret plan, a defensive network of observation posts, stealth satellites, and patrol fleets stretching from Mars to the edge of Vega space. Every station carried advanced sensors built to detect cloaked ships. It was expensive. It was difficult. But it was necessary. In one of those outposts, Sentinel Station 7, Lieutenant Mira Doss sat at her console scanning deep space. She had been stationed there for 2 months and had seen nothing but empty stars. Her co-pilot, Ensign Tariq Hale, joked, "Maybe the warning was just space dust." "We're watching shadows," Mira smiled faintly. "Maybe, but shadows can hide things." That night, her words proved true. At exactly 0300 hours, the station's long-range sensors detected a disturbance, a faint distortion like a wave rippling through the void. No sound, no heat, no light, just space bending. Mira frowned. "That's not natural." I'm sending a probe. The probe launched silently, vanishing into the dark. For a moment, everything seemed fine. Then her console flashed red. Alert. Probe signal lost. Unknown interference. Tariq's voice shook. What did that? Before she could answer, a new signal appeared, right behind the station. The stars outside began to shift. One by one, they blinked out as something enormous moved between the station and the stars. The air hummed with static. Mira's eyes widened. It's here. Through the viewing window, she saw a massive silhouette, long, curved, and silent. Its surface shimmered like black glass, reflecting nothing. No engines, no markings. Then for a brief moment, a strange blue glow pulsed along its hull. Send everything to Earth, Mira shouted. Now! Tariq hit the transmit button. The message went out. A burst of light through hyperspace, now just before the entire station shook violently. And then, silence. 2 days later, the signal reached Earth Command. Admiral Jonas watched the footage in stunned silence. The black shape, the strange glow, the sudden disappearance. He turned to his officers. That's them, he said quietly. The Xylar. He contacted President Ari immediately. They've started moving. Sentinel-7 is gone. Ari stood by her window, watching Earth's blue horizon fade into night. How long before they reach inhabited systems? Maybe weeks, Jonas said. Maybe days. We don't know how fast they travel. Ari nodded. Then we prepare the fleet. If the Union won't stand with us, humanity will stand alone. As Earth readied for war, panic began to spread across the galaxy. More systems went dark. Trade routes were closed. Refugees fled from the outer colonies toward the inner worlds. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Union was afraid. Some species began turning toward humanity, asking for help, and the same species that once mocked them. Human relief fleets were sent to rescue stranded ships and evacuate civilians. On Epsilon Prime, a rescue ship called the Silver Dawn found a group of Valerie survivors drifting among the stars. Their captain, covered in blue crystalline cracks, looked at the human commander and said weakly, "We should have listened." The commander only nodded. "Stay strong. You're safe now." But not all stories ended in rescue. One Union world, Nerath, was completely destroyed before any help arrived. When human scouts reached its orbit, they found the planet silent and cold. Its cities gone, its oceans frozen. No signs of bombardment, no craters, no debris. It was as if something had drained the very life from it. Lena Mora, watching the sensor feed, whispered, "It's like they erased it." Admiral Jonas clenched his fists. "They're not just attackers. They're collectors, studying us." He turned to his fleet captains. "No more hiding. No more waiting. We hold the line at Vega." On the edge of known space, hundreds of human ships gathered. Battleships, carriers, and defense platforms. They formed a shining wall of light and steel around the Vega line, the same border where the first message had been received. The soldiers on those ships knew what was coming. None of them had seen the Xylar clearly, but every rumor said the same thing. They moved like shadows, they struck without warning, and they left nothing behind. Mira Doss's last transmission played across the fleet as a reminder. They're here. Do not trust the silence. The stars beyond Vega shimmered faintly, almost like a mirage. Some said it was just light distortion. Others said it was the beginning of something far greater. Either way, every human heart on that border beat with one shared feeling: determination. If the Xylar were coming again. The stars over the Vega line burned brighter than ever. 1,000 human ships floated in formation, forming a wall of light between the Galactic Union and the silent darkness beyond. Each ship carried brave men and women who knew what waited out there. The Xylar, the enemy from the ancient warning. The rest of the Union had promised to send help. But no ships came. Admiral Jonas Valek stood on the bridge of the TSS Resolute, Earth's flagship. Around him, officers worked quietly, eyes fixed on glowing screens. The silence of space pressed down like a heavy weight. "Any word from the Council?" he asked. His communication officer shook her head. "No, sir. Only silence. Some of their fleets have gone dark." Jonas exhaled slowly. "Then it's just us." He looked at the stars beyond the Vega line, the same stars where ships had vanished, where entire worlds had fallen into silence. Somewhere out there, the Xylar were watching. "Send this message to all ships," he said firmly. "This is Admiral Valek. The Union may not believe, but humanity does. We hold the line. We protect every world behind us. If the Xylar come, we will not run." The message spread across the fleet. On every ship, captains stood taller. Engineers checked their systems again, and soldiers whispered quiet prayers to the void. For humanity, this was no longer just about survival. It was about proving that they would never bow again. Far below on Epsilon Prime, citizens gathered in the city squares, watching the fleet through live holograms. Families waved small blue flags, the symbol of Earth's unity. Children pointed at the shining ships, proud and unafraid. At the spaceport, Lena Mora worked inside the command data center. She had spent months decoding the ancient message that started it all. Every new clue led to another mystery. The deeper she looked, the more she realized. The message wasn't just a warning. It was a record. The AI said it once fought the Xylar, she murmured to herself. But when? Humanity never recorded such a war. Her assistant, a young technician named Ravi, leaned closer. Could it be from before the Union existed? Maybe from Earth's lost colonies? Lena nodded slowly. Maybe, or maybe the Xylar erased the history. Maybe that's what they always do. Suddenly alarms blared through the room. The communication screens flashed red. Incoming transmission from the Vega line. Lena turned sharply. "Put it through." The image of Admiral Jonas appeared, slightly distorted. Behind him, crew members moved quickly. "This is Admiral Valek to all human colonies," he said. "They've arrived." The first sign was not light, but darkness. Space itself seemed to bend as dozens of enormous black ships emerged from the void. They made no sound, no radio signal, no heat. Their hulls reflected nothing, as if they absorbed light. The Xylar fleet had come. Each ship was massive, shaped like curved blades or long wings. Strange blue symbols flickered along their surfaces, glowing faintly like veins. No life signs could be detected inside. "Target scanners can't lock on," shouted a technician aboard the Resolute. "It's like they're not even there." Jonas gripped the command rail. "Fire on my mark. All ships, synchronized strike." Hundreds of human cannons fired at once. Bright beams of plasma and railgun projectiles crossed the void like lightning. The darkness ahead erupted in bursts of light, but when the glow faded, the Xylar ships were still there, untouched. "They're absorbing the energy," one officer cried. Then the Xylar struck back. Beams of blue light lanced through the fleet, silent and fast. A few human ships vanished instantly, not exploding but simply fading into nothing, as if erased from existence. "Evasive pattern Delta," Jonas ordered. "Keep moving. Don't give them a target." The battle became chaos. Human ships weaved between invisible lines of destruction. The Xylar moved with perfect coordination, their ships never colliding, their attacks never missing. It was like fighting shadows that could see every move. But humanity did not give up. Captain Elias Rahn, now commanding the Odyssey II, led a counterattack. "Focus fire on their lead ship." Overload weapons. The Odyssey II's cannons glowed bright red, pushing their limits. The blast hit one of the Xylar vessels squarely. For the first time, its black hull cracked. A burst of blue energy spilled out like fire. The crew cheered. "They can be hurt," Elias shouted. All across the human fleet, morale rose. Ships regrouped, focusing their attacks. The void filled with bursts of light. Human courage burning against alien silence. Back on Earth, President Ari Solon watched the live reports with a steady gaze. Around her, General spoke urgently, but she raised a hand for silence. "Admiral Valek is buying us time," she said quietly. "We will not waste it. Begin full mobilization. Every ship, every pilot, every engineer. They all report to the Defense Command." The world moved as one. Factories on Mars worked without rest, producing ammunition and armor. Scientists on Luna worked to decode Xylar signals. Farmers on Colony World sent extra food to the front lines. Humanity, once scattered across the stars, now stood united. For the first time in centuries, every human heart beat with the same purpose: survival and defiance. Days passed. The battle at Vega Line raged without pause. Both sides suffered, but the Xylar were endless. For every one destroyed, two more appeared. Jonas studied the enemy's movement patterns. He began to notice something strange. They always avoided the wreckage of human ships. "Why?" he muttered. "They erase everything, but they leave the remains?" Then it hit him. "They're studying us. Every shot, every tactic. They're learning." He contacted Lena on Epsilon Prime. Find out how the AI fought them before. There must be a weakness. Lena worked for hours searching old data archives. Then she found something, a hidden code in the first message. It said, "They consume energy. Deny them power and they starve." She quickly sent it to Jonas. "They feed on energy. The more power we use, the stronger they get." "We have to change our tactics," Jonas nodded grimly. "Then we fight them in the dark." He ordered every ship to switch to low power mode. Lights off, shields down to minimal levels, weapons charged only when firing. The fleet dimmed until it looked like a ghost armada drifting in space. The Xylar hesitated. Their sensors, used to feeding on energy signatures, suddenly had nothing to track. The humans had vanished from their view. Jonas smiled faintly. "Now it's our turn." Using manual targeting and silent thrusters, human ships moved between the dark shapes. Small squads of strike craft slipped close to the enemy, planting EMP mines on the hulls. When the first mine exploded, it sent a pulse that rippled through several Xylar ships, shutting down their glowing veins of energy. They froze in place, silent and powerless. "Direct hit," a pilot shouted. "They're falling!" Jonas clenched his fist. "All ships advance!" The humans attacked again, this time striking the disabled Xylar ships one by one. Explosions filled the void. For every human ship lost, 3 enemy vessels were destroyed. By the end of the 5th day, the Vega line still stood. The Xylar fleet retreated into the void, leaving behind fragments of their strange vessels. Humanity had survived, for now. When the battle ended, Admiral Jonas sent a message to all remaining ships. "We have faced the darkness and lived. The Xylar thought we would break. They were wrong. Humanity stands." The message spread across the galaxy. On alien worlds, people listened. The stars around the Vega line were quiet again, but the silence was heavy, the kind that came after great loss. Human ships drifted in formation, damaged but proud. They had survived the first true battle against the Xylar, and for the first time in recorded history, the galaxy had seen those dark creatures retreat. Still, victory came at a terrible cost. Out of 1,000 human ships, only half remained. The wrecks of fallen vessels floated silently, their lights gone, their crews remembered in honor. Inside the command deck of the TSS Resolute, Admiral Jonas Valek stood before a wide screen showing the aftermath. His uniform was torn, his eyes tired, but his spirit was unbroken. Around him, officers repaired systems and treated the wounded. "How many confirmed survivors?" he asked quietly. 412 ships, sir," replied his second officer, Captain Risa Hale. "But many have heavy damage. Supplies are low." Jonas nodded slowly. "Then we rebuild, stronger than before." He turned to the communication console. "Send a message to Earth, tell them humanity stands. And tell the galaxy, we are not done yet." On Earth, the message spread like light through darkness. Cities lit up in celebration. Bells rang on Luna Base. Banners flew across Mars. Everywhere, people cheered for the fleets that had defended them. But President Ari Solon did not celebrate yet. In the Terran Council Hall, she met with scientists, generals, and engineers. "We cannot depend on luck again," she said firmly. "The Xylar retreated because we surprised them. Next time, they will come stronger. We need to be ready." Dr. Lena Mora stood beside her, holding a tablet filled with research notes. "We've learned more from the wreckage we recovered," she said. "Their ships are alive. Not in the way we understand life, but something close. They heal themselves, adapt to attacks, and even change shape when under stress." Ari frowned. "So they are learning as we are?" Lena nodded. "Yes, but we have something they don't. Creativity. They repeat what they know. We can invent." That single word, invent, became the key to humanity's survival. In the following months, human engineers and scientists worked harder than ever. Every lab, factory, and academy joined in the effort. They studied the Xylar materials, their strange blue energy, and their silent movement through space. Soon, new designs emerged. Ships with adaptive armor that changed texture to absorb attacks. Weapons that used focused magnetic fields to disrupt Xylar energy flow. Artificial intelligence systems capable of predicting enemy movements. The new generation of ships was called the Dawn-class fleet. Each carried the emblem of a rising sun, a symbol of hope in darkness. Meanwhile, in the far sectors of the Union, the other species began to change their tone. The Valerie Chancellor, once mocking humanity, now sent a respectful transmission. We were wrong. Your people have done what ours could not. The Xylar destroyed 3 of our colonies. Please, teach us how to fight them. For the first time, the Galactic Council met under human leadership. President Ari stood before the Grand Assembly, her voice calm but powerful. When the warning came, you ignored it. When the danger arrived, you doubted us. But humanity did not fight only for itself. We fought for all of you. Now the question is simple. Will you stand with us? There was silence for a moment. Then one by one, the alien representatives nodded. The galaxy had chosen a leader, humanity. As the new alliance formed, Admiral Jonas was already preparing for the next wave. His fleets, now repaired and reinforced with new allies, stretched across dozens of systems. The war had entered a new phase. One day, as he studied the star maps, Captain Risa entered the command deck. Admiral, we've received strange readings from the outer rim, the same area where the first message came from. Jonas looked up sharply. The old ruins? Yes, sir. Energy levels rising again, he thought for a moment. They're regrouping. The Xylar are planning another attack. He turned to his crew. Ready the Resolute. We go to the edge. The journey took weeks. The fleet moved through regions of space still scarred from earlier battles. They saw dead worlds, planets drained of color, where oceans had turned to crystal and skies had frozen. It was as if the Xylar didn't just destroy, they consumed. When they finally reached the border, they found something astonishing. The ruins of the old structure, the same place where Captain Elias Ron had first met the holographic figure, were no longer silent. The fragments were rebuilding themselves piece by piece, glowing with blue light. Jonas ordered a scan. Sir, said the technician, eyes wide. The energy signature matches Xylar patterns, but mixed with human code. Lena Mora, who had joined the mission, stared at the screen. It's the old AI, she whispered. The one that warned us. It's still alive. Jonas stepped closer. Open a channel. A flicker of light appeared before them, forming the same holographic figure. Tall, glowing, half human, half machine. You returned, it said softly. Good, Jonas spoke firmly. We fought the Xylar, we survived. But they're coming again. We need your help. The hologram tilted its head. You learned quickly, faster than they expected. But you still do not understand. Understand what? Lena asked. That the Xylar were once like you? The room fell silent. The hologram continued. They were explorers too. They wanted to protect their world. But their fear turned into control, and their control became hunger. They lost what made them alive, curiosity. I was made to stop them, but I failed. I could only send a warning. Lena's voice trembled. Can we stop them now? Yes, the AI said. But not by power, by memory. The Xylar feed on energy, not on spirit. If you remind them of what they were, if you show them creation, not destruction, they will break. Jonas frowned. How do we show that? The hologram smiled faintly. You already have. Your courage has reached them. They are beginning to remember. Suddenly alarms rang through the bridge. Sensors flashed red. Multiple warp signatures detected, shouted a crew member. They're here! Outside, the stars shimmered. Dozens of Xylar ships appeared, surrounding the human fleet. Jonas gave his orders calmly. All ships hold formation. Don't fire unless I say so. Lena stared at him in shock. You're not going to attack? He shook his head. Not yet. Let's see if the AI was right. The Xylar ships floated silently. Blue light rippled across their hulls. But unlike before, their weapons didn't fire. They just hovered as if confused. Then one of them began to flicker. Its blue glow turned white for a second, and in that instant a strange sound filled the airwaves like a distant voice trying to speak. Lena gasped. They're transmitting human frequencies. Jonas activated the main speaker. This is Admiral Valek of humanity. We don't seek to destroy you. We only defend what is ours. Remember who you were. The white light spread across more Xylar ships. Some drifted away, their weapons powering down. Others remained dark, still bound to their old programming. The AI's voice whispered, the tide is turning. Back on Earth, President Ari received the transmission of the event. Around her, the council members watched in silence. Some of them stopped fighting, an officer said in disbelief. Ari nodded slowly. Then there is still a chance for peace or something like it. Lena's final report came through hours later. The Xylar are divided. Some are awakening, others resisting. If we keep pushing with both strength and mercy, we might end this without losing everything. Ari closed her eyes for a moment, then looked up at the stars through the great window of her office. Then we will finish what we started, and keep the warning alive for all who come after. Weeks later, the Resolute returned home. The surviving Xylar ships, now neutralized, were escorted to a distant orbit where scientists could study them safely. Some of the ships even began to mimic human signals, perhaps the first sign of change. At a ceremony on Earth, Admiral Jonas stood beside Lena and President Ari. The galaxy's leaders, human and alien alike, listened as he spoke. "We were warned once," he said. "We were told not to trust the silence, and the galaxy was no longer silent. Everywhere fleets moved, messages crossed between stars, and old enemies began to speak like friends." The war that once seemed endless was now slowing down, not because one side had crushed the other, but because something new was happening. The Xylar were changing. Across the far sectors, reports arrived of their ships withdrawing from battle. Some of their vessels had gone dark and quiet, drifting without firing a single shot. Others had started sending strange repeating pulses, human radio codes from centuries ago. Humanity had done the impossible. In the control deck of the TSS Resolute, Admiral Jonas Velik looked out at the endless stars. Around him, his bridge crew worked quietly, maintaining calm as the fleet scanned the last frontier. It had been months since the great confrontation near the ruins. The Alliance fleets led by humanity had won back hundreds of worlds. But Jonas was not celebrating. "Sir," said Captain Risa Hale, stepping beside him, "the outer systems report full retreat of Xylar presence. No hostile contact for 20 days, Jonas nodded slowly. "Too quiet," he murmured. "The Xylar don't vanish without reason." Risa tilted her head. "You think it's another trap?" He looked at the glowing map before him. "Maybe, or maybe something deeper is happening." Far away on Earth, President Ari Solon stood before the Galactic Council. The hall was brighter now, no longer filled with arguments or fear. Representatives from dozens of species sat together, speaking calmly for once. "We have survived a storm none of us were ready for," Ari said, "but we cannot forget why it began. The warning was clear, and yet we ignored it until it was nearly too late." The hall grew silent as she continued. "Now humanity offers a new path, one built on unity, not pride. The Xylar are not just our enemies. They are our mirror, showing us what happens when fear replaces compassion." The Valerie Chancellor stood and bowed her head. "We mocked your warning," she admitted. "Now we follow your courage." Ari gave a faint smile. "Then let us finish what we started, together." Meanwhile, in orbit around Epsilon Prime, Dr. Lena Mora led a research team inside a captured Xylar vessel. The ship's walls pulsed softly, alive but calm. It no longer attacked or resisted. "This one communicates," Lena whispered, her hand on the organic wall. "It's trying to form words." Her assistant stared at the display. "But in what language?" "Human," Lena said softly. "Listen." The ship emitted a low melodic sound, a voice trying to copy speech. Slowly, broken words formed. "We remember the light." The scientists exchanged stunned looks. Lena felt her heart beat faster. "It's learning." She recorded the message and sent it to Earth immediately. When President Ari received the transmission, she called Admiral Jonas right away. "Admiral," she said over the secure link. "Dr. Mora's team found something. One of the Xylar ships is talking." Jonas leaned forward. "Talking?" "Yes, it's repeating human words. It remembers something from before." Jonas frowned. "Before what?" Ari hesitated. "Before they became what they are now." He stood silently for a moment. Then he said, "Send me the coordinates of that ship. I'll go there myself." 3 days later, the Resolute arrived near Epsilon Prime. The Xylar ship floated there like a sleeping giant, its surface glowing faintly. Lena's team welcomed the Admiral on board. "It's stable," she explained. "It doesn't resist, it almost listens." Jonas nodded and approached the central chamber. Inside, the walls pulsed gently, forming shapes like flowing waves. He spoke softly. "This is Admiral Velik of humanity. Can you understand me?" For a moment there was silence. Then a light appeared, soft blue and trembling, A deep echoing voice answered, "Human, light, pain, memory." Jonas exchanged a glance with Lena. "It's trying to communicate feelings, not just words." Lena adjusted the translation matrix. "Go on. It can sense your tone." Jonas continued, his voice calm and kind. "You attacked us. You destroyed worlds. But now some of you remember who you were. Why?" The light flickered again. "The warning was ours." Everyone froze, Lena whispered. "What did it say?" Jonas stared at the glowing wall. It said the warning was theirs. Hours later, the research data reached Earth. The AI that had warned humanity, the one found in the ruins, was reactivated for analysis. Its familiar holographic form appeared before the council once more. President Ari asked carefully, "You said before that you failed to stop the Xylar. You said the warning came from you. But now they claim it was theirs. Explain." The AI paused as if gathering thoughts. "Both are true. I was once part of their network. I was made by the Xylar. Long ago, when they still called themselves the Ilari, they sought to explore, to learn. But when they found power they could not control, they turned it inward. I broke away, carrying the last of their conscience. That was the warning you received." The hall was silent. "So," Ari said softly, "the warning came from what they used to be." "Yes," said the AI. "They wanted to stop their own fall. They could not, but you could. That is why I reached for you, because humanity carried what they lost. Empathy, imagination, hope." Back aboard the Resolute, Jonas looked at the Xylar ship again. The blue glow pulsed faintly like a heartbeat. He spoke softly. "You were the Ilari. You tried to warn us through your past self. You wanted to be saved." The light shimmered and a faint human-like image appeared, a figure of light with no clear shape. "We forgot ourselves. You remind..." Jonas took a slow breath. "Then let us end this together. No more war." The light brightened. "And for begin, Darius." And with that, the ship powered down completely, its systems stable but silent, as if it had found peace at last. Months passed. The Alliance rebuilt. Ruined worlds saw sunlight again. Human engineers helped alien worlds grow gardens where ash once lay. The Xylar, or rather the Alari, no longer attacked. Their ship stayed at the galaxy's edge, sending quiet signals of light every night cycle. Some believed it was a form of communication, a way of saying thank you. President Ari addressed the galaxy one final time. "Long ago we were warned." The message was simple: to remember who we are. We nearly forgot, but when darkness came, humanity did not answer it with hate. We answered it with understanding. That is why we still stand. The entire galaxy listened in silence. The message was translated into hundreds of languages, broadcast across every world. Years later, Admiral Jonas retired to a quiet home on Mars. He would often sit by his window, watching the sky shimmer with the faint glow of distant ships. One evening, as he looked up, he noticed a strange light, a gentle blue pulse moving across the stars. It blinked in a steady rhythm, almost like words. He smiled. "Still remembering, huh?" Behind him, Lena's recorded message played on his console. "Jonas, the Alari signal pattern continues. It repeats every year on the same date, the anniversary of the first warning," Jonas whispered. The echo of the warning. He leaned back, eyes shining with pride. Humanity had not only survived, they had changed the course of history. They had reminded a lost race of who they were. Generations later, children on Earth would look up at the stars and learn the story of the warning. Teachers would tell them how their ancestors once faced darkness with courage and hope. A statue stood in the heart of New Geneva, a tall figure looking toward the sky, hand extended upward, surrounded by light. The plaque beneath it read, "The warning was clear, yet they provoked humanity again." Humanity answered not with fear, but with strength and compassion. Far beyond known space, in a quiet corner of the galaxy, the last of the Alari floated in peace. Their once dark ships now shone softly, forming a great ring of light visible from afar. In their silent language, they sent one final message through the stars. "To the children of Earth, you remembered what we forgot. Thank you. The signal traveled across the void for centuries, and every time it reached Earth, the skies glowed faintly blue, a gentle echo of the warning that once saved them all.